Thank you for joining with me, reading with the Course Companions, Cameo 24, Mike. If you will please close your eyes and join me in prayer. Dear God, please enable me to set aside everything I think I know about you, about A Course in Miracles, about myself, my brothers, and this world. God, please allow me to have an open mind and a new experience with all of these things, God. Please give me your vision, the vision you would have me have. Thank you. I love you. Amen. We are reading out of A Course in Miracles, complete and annotated edition, edited by Robert Perry. Cameo 24, Mike. I think this is day 199, but I don't have the commentary in front of me, so I will confirm that when I read the commentary. Around the end of chapter 15, section 6 of the text, in the Holy Instant, Helen took down a personal message dated December 14th, 1966, in the Special Messages, about a man named Mike. It is quite cryptic. Yet, by reading between the lines, there are a few things we can glean. And this is the writing. I think, yeah. Nothing that relates to a specific relationship belongs in the notes. But you have been told that if you ask the Holy Spirit for specific guidance in a specific situation, He will give it to you very specifically. And see chapter 11, section 9. When you and Bill are ready to ask him together what you can do for Mike, he will tell you. If you make no attempt to give the answer for him, prejudge his answer not, for if you do, you will not hear it. And this is footnote 1. The block quote and the next block quote come from Helen's notes. Throughout these Cameo essays, we have corrected spelling errors in dictated material for ease in reading. Here again, Helen and Bill are told that the notes, i.e. the Course, should not contain guidance about specific relationships and situations in their lives. The Course is not meant to read as a personal message to them, but as a universal message to every reader. However, even though specific guidance does not belong in the Course, it very much does belong in their lives. They are absolutely meant to ask for specific guidance in a specific situation, and that is exactly what they should do in the situation involving Mike. Together, Helen and Bill should come to the Holy Spirit, yet they must come in a true spirit of not knowing what He will say, rather than silently filling in the answer before He can speak. But be sure of this, the Holy Spirit will never teach you to disrupt communication, but be wholly willing to let Him maintain it in His way. Mike is unhappy and afraid because he thinks communication through the body can be sought and found. It is no harder for the Holy Spirit to teach him that communication is of the mind and not the body, than it is for Him to teach it to you. The Holy Spirit will have no difficulty and much joy if you allow Him to teach Mike this through you. But be sure that you are willing to learn it with Him, or you will inevitably interfere with what the Holy Spirit would have Him learn with you. Mike will be released the instant you and Bill have no investment in keeping him or yourselves in prison. The problem identified here is that Mike is seeking communication through the body. This is the same theme that is featured in section 8, which was taken down right around the same time. That section opens up with the line, "But remember this, to be with a body is not communication." The discussion there is in part clearly about sex, since its second paragraph mentions the union of bodies. It may be, then, that the same applies to Mike. He may be hoping that the union of bodies can lead to a real connection between minds. Helen and Bill are trying to help Mike with this problem. The first paragraph of the guidance portrays them as wondering what they can do for Mike, but they also seem to be in a sense in the problem with Mike. After all, the lesson he needs to learn, that communication is of the mind and not the body, is one that they need to learn with him. Just as Mike is caught up in identifying another as a body, so Helen and Bill are apparently identifying Mike as a body, and thereby keeping him in prison. The three of them appear to be locked in some sort of problematic situation, which may explain why Helen and Bill are also tempted to prejudge what the Holy Spirit will say about it. Whatever is going on between them, it is difficult enough that the option of cutting off communication with Mike may be on the table. At least the possibility of this is suggested when Jesus essentially advises them not to disrupt communication with Mike, but rather to maintain it in the Holy Spirit's way. Thus, whatever the Holy Spirit's answer will be to this situation, it will not involve ceasing communication with Mike. Instead, they need to be the egoless conduits through which the Holy Spirit can reach him. Rather than running for cover, they need to launch a prison break to set him free. They need to be the people in his life that teach him that relationships are about the meeting of minds, not the union of bodies. How they go about this, however, is all important. They must learn this lesson themselves in relation to Mike. They must stop relating to him as a body, and further, they need to be open to the Holy Spirit providing them with a particular way of maintaining communication with Mike, but be wholly willing to let him maintain it in his way. What will the Holy Spirit say? How will he lift the three of them out of their prison? Remarkably, it seems that we actually have the answer to that question. 4 chapters later, in the middle of chapter 19, Helen's notebooks contain a personal letter to someone named Mike. It is first written out in longhand in the notebook pages themselves, and then there is a typed version that, since it has no opening address or closing signature, appears to have been produced for archival purposes. Finding this letter in Helen's notebooks is puzzling, since by this point the notebooks are devoted almost exclusively to taking down the course. We can guess, therefore, that the letter probably has some close connection with Helen's dictation from Jesus. Sure enough, once we read this letter to Mike, the connection between it and the earlier message from Jesus becomes readily apparent. March 1967. As always, I am grateful to receive news of your truly astonishing progress. Your new relationship with your father impresses me in particular because it is such an excellent example of what relationships can be when we really try to enter into them without the burdens of the past. It is my hope, as I am sure it is also yours, that all your relationships can gain from the increased sympathy and realism you have brought to that one. I was very glad to see you again so recently and enjoyed our little chat as much as you tell me you did. The progress you are so evidently making in analysis is especially good news, and I'm sure it will continue. You surely know my interest in your well-being and my genuine wish to be kept informed of every major step in the process of your liberation from the past. And it is because I am so sure you realize the sincerity of my concern that I feel certain you will not misunderstand the suggestions I'm going to make. I believe that you have finally reached a real turning point in your analysis, and neither of us can tell at this point how far it will lead you. And it is often at just this crucial point that illusions seem particularly tempting as an unconscious way of delaying progress. As you must believe, I am so grateful for whatever little help I may have been in helping you undo illusions. and everything that has helped us both to come closer to this goal, I am most thankful for, because I want us to continue that way. I do suggest and offer the suggestion with all the friendship and sympathy in which I know it will be received, that whatever illusions may surround our relationship are not helpful to you and may well constitute a detour along the road to the more mature relationship you want. I would suggest in deepest friendship that you make every effort to work through your feelings for me with your therapist, and that we keep in touch, of course, but do not meet again until you are ready to see our relationship without illusions that must delay your progress toward increasing reality. Real friendships, such as we both want, are not attained through the pursuit of illusory goals. Mike, you have problems to resolve right now where you are, not in New York, not with new friends and different people, and not through escape of any kind. I will not forget you, but I would not have our friendship, which I value, lose its real importance. And when we do meet again, let it be on a realistic basis, when you can meet without illusions which can only hold us back from more mature and really satisfying relationships. Please do this, Mike. You will be glad you did. Neither of us surely would want you to lose this opportunity to shake yourself really loose from the past and work illusions through. Your friends in New York, including myself, will keep in touch with you and hope to hear from you in return. This will work out well, Mike, but now is the time to bring your problems as openly and directly as possible into your therapy and really see them through. You have already made too much progress to be really willing to tolerate delay now. I have enough faith in you to believe that you are ready for a giant step forward toward what you really want, but I agree with the basic analytic tenet that in the analysis you must discover what it is. And meanwhile, many things may seem to be the answer that turn out to be merely pseudo-solutions. As a real friend, I could not in conscience encourage this, knowing too well how easily it can occur during the sometimes painful process of facing reality and making the transition to it. This is a truly astonishing letter, the combination of genuine love and care on the one hand, and the firm drawing of boundaries on the other, set it apart as a rare communication. It is most likely the very thing the earlier guidance spoke of, the Holy Spirit's answer to the situation about Mike. Indeed, the letter itself may well have been inspired or even dictated by Jesus, which would explain its presence in Helen's notebooks, its extraordinarily egoless quality, and the fact that there is hardly any rewriting in it. Helen labored over her writing, editing and re-editing, and this would no doubt have been especially true with a sensitive communication like this one. Yet this letter flowed from her hand with surprising ease. In light of the letter, the whole situation becomes much clearer. The earlier guidance said that Mike had been in prison, and now we see that he has also been trying to get out. He is in therapy, and Helen had earlier fulfilled what sounds like a kind of therapeutic role with him. I'm so grateful for whatever little help I may have been in helping you undo illusions. More importantly, the letter seems to reveal the real-life problem of Mike's that the earlier guidance had addressed. Mike had developed a romantic attraction for Helen. This is probably what Jesus was referring to when he said that Mike thinks communication through the body can be sought and found. This appears, in other words, to be the reason for both the earlier guidance and the current letter. Helen, a married woman, has helped a man with his issues in a therapist role, and that man has fallen for her. What should she do? How does she not encourage his feelings while at the same time not completely rejecting him and thus jeopardizing the very healing that she has helped foster? The solution expressed in this letter is masterful. Helen says that they will keep in touch, of course, but asks that they not meet in person until he has been able to, as she puts it, work through your feelings for me with your therapist. By not meeting physically, she makes the strong statement that his attraction is so out of place that an extreme measure must be taken so as to not encourage it. By still keeping in touch, she emphasizes that the relationship is about the part of them that can still meet even while their bodies are apart. What better way to fulfill the instruction from the earlier guidance that they should teach Mike that communication is of the mind and not the body. Now we have an idea of what Jesus may have had in mind when he said, "The Holy Spirit will never teach you to disrupt communication, but to be wholly willing to let him maintain it in his way." The beauty of this letter is that Helen does not frame her solution as a matter of fending off unwanted affections or maintaining social mores, or even doing the right thing. It's not about Helen at all. Instead, it is about Mike's progress. It is all about Mike achieving his goal of shedding illusions and facing reality, and thus being able to enter into a mature and really satisfying relationships. This is the driving concern throughout the letter. This is why he must come to see our relationship without illusions that must delay your progress. This is why they must not meet in person until it can be on a realistic basis. Because of this focus on Mike's progress, the letter is ultimately a very encouraging one. Her suggestion that they not meet in person for now may seem negative, but it takes on a surprisingly positive cast by being set within an overall positive message. Aside from the caring Helen conveys, she also expresses a great deal of faith in Mike. She has faith in his progress. After mentioning what she calls the progress you are so evidently making, she adds, "and I am sure it will continue." She also has faith in his ability to receive her message in the spirit in which it is given. She says, "I feel certain you will not misunderstand the suggestions I'm going to make." She is calling on a higher part of him with such transparent sincerity and love that she expects that part of him to be what responds. There are times when relationship difficulties appear to be hopeless, so hopeless that there seems to be no point in calling on the Holy Spirit. What could he possibly do, we wonder? The situation we see here, in which a sincere attempt to help apparently led to a problematic attraction, is certainly one of those difficulties. Yet in this case, the result of turning to the Holy Spirit was an inspired solution that was so loving and wise, so gentle yet firm, that it has the appearance of coming from beyond the human framework. Thank you for joining with me. This is Robert Perry's Cameo, and forgive me, I do not have my earbuds, my microphone, so I may sound a little hollow. Day 199, as I thought it was. Cameo 24, Mike. This cameo happens to be a favorite of mine, partly because it's material that the course community hasn't known about before, and which took some detective work to piece together, and partly because the letter from Helen is just so beautiful. As I read it today, what strikes me is that it's in a sense a tale of two very different loves. First, there is Mike's love of Helen. He's developed feelings for her to the point where she asks that they not meet in person until he has been able to, as she puts it, work through your feelings for me with your therapist. This is such a different view of romantic love and sexual attraction. When such feelings happen inside of us, we typically glorify them, and we see this glorification reflected in our culture. Think of all those movies in which the birth of love within someone is treated almost like the birth of Jesus, as an unquestioned sacred good. In this view, love is something that happens to you like a miracle over which you have no control. And once it does happen, the goal is for it to overcome all obstacles, both in the beloved and in her family, and win her hand. That's the happy ending we are all dying to see. Helen's letter, however, throws a big bucket of ice water on this view. She sees Mike's love as something he needs to work through and get over. He's going through a healing process, a process of shedding illusions and moving into real relationships, and his feelings for Helen are not real. They are an expression of the very illusions he is trying to leave behind. Therefore, they threaten to delay his healing, and for this reason, it's vital that their flames not be fanned by a physical meeting with Helen. When do we see romantic love treated with such disrespect? Rather than being like the birth of Jesus in him, it's like he's caught the flu and he needs to be quarantined and given medication. The real love here is Helen's. As I said at the start, that's why I'm so fond of this cameo. There is something that is just so loving about her letter. When someone has fallen for you, how do you react? Either you welcome his feelings because you share them, or you recoil from his feelings because you don't, and you're bracing for the mess they will cause. Or you fall somewhere in between. Here, however, Helen steps outside this spectrum altogether. She does not appear to be reacting to Mike's feelings from a personal standpoint. She's invested in his journey toward healing, and she reacts solely out of concern for that. It's almost like she's not an actor in this play. She responds strictly as a director who knows that this play is only about Mike's healing. In the process, she models the very kind of mature and realistic relationship that Mike himself is struggling to achieve. Her love is dispassionate, his is passionate. Which love does our culture celebrate? More importantly, which love are we striving to realize in our own lives? Thank you so much for joining with me in the reading of the day 199, Cameo 25, I believe. My computer went down. 24. Cameo 24, Mike.